I wanted to change it up and talk about the 5 things I wish I knew when I started DMing. Normally, I discuss concepts and how they relate to TTRPGs, like food and cosmic horror, but today I'm going to simplify and numericalize. Number 1, you're a mediator. As the individual running the game, you may think that you're judge, jury, and executioner, and technically, you're right. But the role of the GM is more related to that of a mediator. You are finding common ground between the rules and the players through your understanding. Yes, sometimes we follow raw rules as written, and sometimes we follow wry rules as interpreted. Often, outside of an Adventure League or an officially sanctioned game, I found that most tables are somewhere in between, as they've often incorporated some sort of homebrew rules, such as drinking a potion as a bonus action in 5e, or drawing a potion from a belt as a free action in PF2e. Not only do you bridge the gap from the source books to the table, but you also have to build bridges to link the players to each other and yourself. Everyone at the table has to be able to communicate with each other, otherwise, we're bound to run into trouble. Which brings us to number 2, conflict resolution. When playing in a TTRPG, we let our imaginations run wild. We build our own personal vision of the game, and sometimes those visions collide. Expectations don't always match the outcome. We don't always understand each other or the rules. In my first campaign, I had a player that I would butt heads with. We were good friends and we both loved the campaign, but that often manifested in conflicting interpretations of the rules and situations. As the GM, reflecting back, I feel like I failed to properly address things because I was so afraid of conflict affecting the game. Yet, through my inaction, it affected the game anyways. Now, we're still friends and have fond memories of the game, but had we had the same dialogue that we have now, we could have easily resolved our differences and elevated the game. But some issues, even when addressed and identified, can be difficult to resolve for any group, and those often relate to number 3, bleed. Bleed refers to the transference and manifestation of emotions between yourself and your character and vice versa, typically in a negative fashion. We put so much of ourselves into our characters, and it's a safe place to experiment with a new and different you. There's no judgment, but there is a line that we have to identify when bleed begins to cross it. A more common example of a person's emotions bleeding into the game is when arguing couples attend the same session. While many can leave their coats at the door, I have seen instances where in-game arguments grow beyond the characters and just become the two players being toxic and vitriolic to each other. Bleed can go the other way too, with your character affecting you, sometimes in big ways. Or even your players. Perhaps your game is a player's most important hobby, their personal highlight. They seem perfectly healthy when regularly attending, but should your session become erratic, or perhaps the game ends, it could send that player's mental health spiraling. Bleed is a complex issue because it is so tied directly to the mental health of the individual experiencing it, which is why it's important to recognize and address it, but resolution is going to be different for everyone. There is a fantastic article over on Medium from the Seattle by Night mods discussing bleed. I've linked it below, and I highly recommend a read. But before we move on to the next item, don't forget to like and subscribe because it really helps the channel grow. Now, number 4, system accessibility. Not all systems are created equal when it comes to accessibility. D&D is everywhere, but other systems aren't so lucky. When I tried to go to my local game store to get the Keeper's Handbook, which is like the DM's guide but for Call of Cthulhu, they didn't have it. And while I certainly prefer to get a physical copy of my books, we are lucky enough that we can typically purchase the PDFs for less than the cost of print, and then they're even available on our phones during session. But accessibility goes far beyond availability. Some systems demand extensive knowledge and have a steep learning curve. Despite 5e having a rather streamlined rule set, this is still the player's handbook, 316 pages. And if you think that this is a lot, you do not want to see the player core from Pathfinder. That is truly daunting. But if you want a truly accessible and free introduction in TTRPGs, look no further than Honey Heist or Lasers and Feelings. Both are free to grab and have a single page of rules to quickly empower you to have a fun RP experience. I'll link both below, but speaking of free, number 5, cost and proxy alternatives. While technically part of accessibility, I wanted to give cost its own section here. Yes, there are free systems like Honey Heist, but what if you want to play D&D or something with a bigger commitment? What other source books do you need? How about miniatures, maps, dice, combat trackers, and the list goes on. So much accoutrement. In less than 5 years of running 5e campaigns, I've spent well over $1,000 on these things, and I've met plenty of people who have spent far more. And if you know anybody into Warhammer, you know that they're laughing at the number I just gave you because that hobby is expensive. But this doesn't have to be for us. I mentioned buying PDFs of hardcovers before. You can also play without miniatures or maps via Theater of the Mind, but if you do want something tangible, when I started, I used those little glass pebbles from the Dollar Tree and just colored them with markers if I needed to differentiate them on the battlefield. Or I would grab snacks from my party, like gummy bears, which means if they beat the monster, they can eat the corpse. And when it came to maps, while my scale was screwed up, when I first started, I just drew crudely on printer paper. Not to mention, if you play online, there are many free and cost-effective tools out there. Archives of Nephis provides the entire PF2E rule set for free. Pathbuilder is a powerful character creator for Pathfinder, and its premium edition is only a one-time fee of $5. D&D Beyond and Demiplane both offer great character creator experiences, but beyond the limited teaser, they're currently locked behind a low monthly subscription and a higher cost content paywall. There are so many alternatives to these things, like the archives, but you just need to do a little bit of research, or look on Reddit. Never underestimate the power of the community. These are the 5 things that I wish I knew and really understood better when I started DMing. Each of these subjects could have easily been their own in-depth video, but I wanted to provide a generic overview that's easy to digest. I employ the lessons I learned from these subjects to my current endeavors, but had I known them back when I started, I feel like I could have elevated things for my players. But whether you have yet to start, are a veteran, or somewhere in between, we know that this is an evolving journey and that there is always opportunity to learn and grow. So until I see you again, keep that imagination active and enjoy gaming.